Gather round, friends. It's time for Officials' Tales. Hosted by three retired sports referees that coaches throughout Northern Ohio knew as the Three Blind Mice. They are authors of the book called Officials' Tales. So let's meet the authors and your hosts, Jimmy Borgia, Rick Hall, and Don Nardecchia for today's edition of Officials' Tales. Now here's your host, Rick Hall.
Welcome everybody to Officials' Tales. We have a very special guest, Josh Bowman from WLKR, talking about how sports programs are put together for the radio. And before we can bring Josh on, I have to introduce my brothers in crime. Nardo, how's icy South Carolina, baby?
It is chilly down here. This storm that's going up the coast, it's going to kick some snow back around on us. They're saying maybe 2 to 4.
Nice.
Over the weekend, or at least by Saturday night. So we'll see. There's a lot going on over at the university. Every night there's something. Every day there's something going on in the Little John Coliseum. So we'll see what plays and what gets canceled.
Well, just remember, if you guys decide to do snow angels, wear your clothes.
Yeah, baby.
Speaking of naked snow angels,
hey.
There's Jimmy.
There he is.
Hey, Nardo. Look at this. I'm crying for you. 2 to 4 inches.
I know.
Jeez, Pat. Are you kidding me?
Now that ice down here was really something. And I was out chipping away. I bet I got 2 inches of ice in front of my front steps, and the sun doesn't get to it. The sun doesn't come around.
Get a blowtorch.
Far enough. So it's Get
a blowtorch.
I think I saw that somewhere. You can buy those from eBay.
I think it'll be mid next week, and when we finally get up in the 50s again,
that'll
probably soften up.
Attaboy. Well, hey, we're got a special guest, Josh Bowman from WLKR. I'm going to bring him on. Welcome, Josh, to this crazy show. You haven't watched this before. You're probably in for a treat or a rude awakening, whichever comes first.
Both, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Talking to Josh a couple of months ago, he was well aware of it. Must have been a big cloud on the weather map or something.
It was like, holy crap! Look at these guys. I thought you probably never thought sports officials were funny until you started watching our show.
Maybe.
We ain't quite right in the head, you know. Well, 2 of us are all right. One of us, he's a little challenged, you know. Which one of us?
Up there. He's unapproachable.
He's
unapproachable.
Me. Yeah, you know. I'm that guy. I'm the worst, Josh, just so you know.
Okay, thanks for the warning.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. I know that what you do for LKR is pretty intense. I've actually been involved in a little of that. Don has too. I did some work for Buckeye Cable Sports Network.
Okay.
I was one of their live guys, a live talent for football and basketball for a little bit when my daughter was there working before she went full time with the Guardians. And I kind of know your pain. Just not like from the beginning like Don does. I mean, Don when they had it, they had your notes on wooden tablets or stone tablets and
like
back
Moses.
in the days of
like
the
Moses.
20-pound Marty
like
unit.
Moses did. Yeah.
Like the Ten Commandments.
I was on the crew that
Hey.
came after Mark Fogg left.
Yeah.
But we were a
that's
little
what
more.
made me turn to officiating, watching those JV games and thinking I can do better than this.
Yeah, we were doing live
myself
truck
and
shows.
still has
let's go, show it if you think you can.
I did live truck shows and interviews and stuff like that. So I got a little bit of stuff about what you do, but my daughter did the producing and some of the other guys. So all I did was sit there and talk and try to be, cognizant and try not to make that ultimate slip up, of, oh no, that referee really screwed that up, because everybody knows you're a ref, and that just doesn't work out so well.
I get you. I understand.
You know what I mean? So, Don, I'm sure you got a few questions for Josh. So let's let you lead it off.
Yeah, Josh, when did you get directed towards radio and sportscasting? What early memories? What started the juices flowing?
Well, as a young kid, I always was infatuated with sports, and my dad raised me on sports, and I always loved sports. And I used to pretend with my little sister that we were on the radio as like DJs and things like that. And eventually, I went to high school and everything. But out of high school, I fell into a trap of working in retail. I worked in a bunch of retail jobs, and then all of a sudden, I didn't want to do that anymore. I realized that my passion was sports, and everybody always told me my voice was pretty good for broadcasting, and I went to school for that, and I ended up getting an internship in Mansfield with radio, and the rest is history. I eventually came here to WLKR.
And now, besides just one station, you have the sports duties, or all three, or do you also have a little bit of on-air time with the other two?
I have on-air time with all of them. I used to be on the K96, if you're aware of that channel, the K96 morning show with the late Cammie Moon. We were the morning.
Yeah, she was great.
We were the morning crew, and we did that for several years before she passed on. And 92.9 WLKR Classic, I call games on there as well. And pretty much all the above.
And you land with Randy Horde once in a while, don't you?
Yeah, me and him do some games. Yeah.
Sure. We go way back with him. He was the athletic director of Buckeye Central for a few years. Came to Norwalk for a few years, and got to know him even a little better. And quality guy.
Yeah, I love working with Randy, and of course, you guys know Mark Lane.
We do.
I work with him all the time, and me and him do a variety of sports together, and we do that locker room show every Saturday morning. Yeah.
Mark his dad was my next door neighbor for 30 years before he passed.
That's what he told me. Yeah, that's what he's told me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mark used to heckle me in the yard when I was out mowing or out doing something. I'd hear like referees suck and they're the worst. He'd be hiding over behind the hill over here, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm looking over like freaking Mark.
Mark would never
got them damn rabbit ears. Got rabbit ears.
Oh no, when you listen to Mark yell across, Mark's got a distinctive voice for he's loud.
So, I know he is.
Yeah, so you recognize, but we're going to actually have him on in a little while here to talk about wrestling.
But what's going on?
To have him back.
Somebody getting ready to make hot dogs out of a dog or something? That was
Three Stooges. I would have bought.
You know what? What's up? Larry says hot dog when it comes to cooking on the cat's meow.
You buy that production package of Crazy Sounds, Rick, or what?
My dog just took off towards the front door. I don't know what happened.
Mailman.
I didn't make it through.
Hey, what can I tell you? You always got something going on. And that's the one thing I learned a long time ago about these kind of meetings or shows or whatever. You always wear pants just in case.
Good idea.
And you always turn all the sound effects off in the house because you never know. I was actually in a Zoom meeting once with a big group, and the doorbell rings, and this guy he had a shirt and tie on. And he stood up and he had his boxers on, and I'm like, oh, hello.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, I was like, well, hey, lesson learned, baby. I ain't no dummy. So yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, working
Josh,
with you all
the big thing we wanted to find out is like Rick and I have a little bit of feel for what all goes in to a broadcast, but I did it eons ago, and Rick did the TV side, and we just thought, people don't realize what all goes on behind the scenes, what goes on months before, etc., to put a game on the air. So who else to go to than Josh Bowman to try to get people educated and maybe appreciate what WLKR and its affiliated partners there what goes on to produce those shows every week.
Yeah, guys, it all starts with how are you going to get it on the air? We used to just be like a phone line would be one way that you got it on the air, and now we have the internet is what we use. Just what you just plug in basically, and we try to set up all these internet spots at all the schools, and that's a process in itself. Some schools have them, some schools don't, and like for instance, like Norwalk St. Paul that we go to all the time, they have their own internet plug just for us. We just plug right in and we're ready to go. And a lot of schools are becoming like that. And some schools, though, Edison, Norwalk, we haven't worked out 100% of what we want to do there. And we use what's called a MARTI, which is an antenna transmitter. And it's a little bit more equipment than the other device that we use for the internet. So we try not to use that very much because that's, we have to lug that in and set that up, takes up a lot of space. But that's goal number one when you're setting up a broadcast is how are you going to get it on the air?
Right.
So that MARTI unit existed, but I think in a lot different shape and form back in my days at working part-time for sports out there. And I suppose now it's all solid state. There isn't a tube. I think the old Martys we used probably had a half dozen tubes in them and a little more. When you talk about lug it to the game, that was that was the true sense of the word back in those days. And it's amazing that, that's still used. Even with the internet, but I think it's the phone lines and the internet and stuff, and amazing that and it's still called the MARTI, although it's you put the MARTI from the 70s next to the MARTI from the 20s now, and
guys, the MARTI now is pretty much the same as it was then. It's
wow.
These are still the old units. A lot of places don't use them anymore, but we find that they still have some of the best sound. Out of anything. So when you're listening to games, you can tell the difference. There'll be a little bit of static maybe in the MARTI, the transmitter, and the internet. Sometimes you'll hear a little drop out when because the internet's not 100% reliable. So, but it is the best sound, and it's what the broadcast industry has went to pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. So when you do broadcast using either of those, there's somebody that is making sure that it gets back to make sure it gets back to the station. But then what happens when it gets back to the station?
Well, basically, once it gets back to the station, it's on the board, the big audio boards that we have back at the station. And depending on what you use, the MARTI or the internet, we call it the tie line for the internet. It's the name of the unit. And they just pot us up and down, the little sliders. They just go up and down, and the actual broadcast is on the computer. They're looking up at a computer monitor, which holds all of our commercials and all the different audio parts to it. That they just click the mouse and play it, and then slide it up and down.
Amazing. And well, you talk about commercials.
Yes.
So somebody has to sell those commercials, and how does that come about?
Well, we have our sales manager and station manager, Bill, and he has his own sales staff of about 4 or 5 people, and that they go out and they present these different packages, and they sell certain games for certain teams, and but we like to have them on board for pretty much all the games. And that they go ahead and they sell that depending on the sport, the week, the season, whatever it may be. And we rely on that sales staff to do that.
Well, I got a question about that now. Well, not just that, but when we were doing the live shows, obviously there's a ton of production for that. You got cameras, we got all kinds of stuff set up. We got replay TVs and all that stuff.
Right.
Of course. and we got I don't know if this is how you guys are. Well, you probably have people calling into you or texting you, but we had producers and stuff talking to us while we were talking. And that was one of my biggest challenges was they're telling you what's coming up next and you're watching the game and you're trying to be color for the game. And they're like, well, now we're going to cut to so-and-so and that. And then the other thing was the prep, because I know you guys must have to do that too, unless you're doing the same team over and over. The prep work was, I would spend, a couple days going over who the stars of, whoever it was that week and, looking at their, kind of, well, we did it for football anyway, Don and I being football guys, we always, for our crew, we'd always have like a little, cheat sheet of who does what and who to watch out for. But that sort of helped me with the show so that I could, like, oh no, number 7 is going to be, this, or the quarterback is, all he does is run, or, that kind of thing. So I kind of knew ahead of time, I'm assuming that's the same way you guys are, minus the producer talking in your ear, which is highly annoying to say the least, which is why we have that. I don't know if you guys have it on your board, but on our little board, we had this little button where we could like mute what's going out over, so we could talk to each other, together. And, we would talk, Lilji and I would talk a lot of times. Like, what does he want? I don't know. What's he talking about? And he'd be looking at me like, like, okay,
right.
We start over again. So how is it? What's that like on the radio?
Well, we have one person back at the studio almost always doing running the board, and they basically just text us back and forth, and they'll call us. If we get a call, then we know something's went wrong. So we're like, oh no, they're calling me. What's going on? But other than that, they're just texting us, and we basically have a format that we follow, and we just go with the flow on that format. And I mentioned though that sometimes we can actually run the games by ourselves. We can actually take a laptop out, and it has everything that the board op would see back at the station. And all they have to do is have somebody there set up the board for us. And we can just do it on our own. Because sometimes, like on Friday nights, all 3 of our stations have football. And we have 3 board ops. But sometimes we don't have all 3 board ops available. So I call it having 2.5 board ops available. So I'm the board op for the 3rd broadcast. So, but yeah, there's a lot of prep work too that gets involved, and especially during basketball season. Like next week, I believe I have like 4 or 5 games, including a game on Sunday, and tons of prep work to do. Got to get a hold of athletic directors and coaches and text coaches for interviews, and yeah, it's a lot of prep work, and I spend, I'd say, at least half of my day at work doing prep work for sports. But I wouldn't have it any other way, though. I don't really consider it work. I love it.
How about schedule? When do you start looking at games and looking at weekends and trying to figure out what game you're going to cover? I mean, you've got 3 stations, but those 3 stations serve, I'm going to guess, probably about 12, 14 teams.
Yeah, I'd say roughly. Going to football is the most complicated because K96, we consider that Erie County pretty much. We just cover Erie County, the bigger schools in Erie County, like your Edison, your Huron, teams like that up that way. But WLKR 95.3 is pretty much Huron County station, Norwalk, St. Paul, Western Reserve, teams like that. And then we got that 92.9 station now that I call it the smaller Firelands Conference station. Maybe your South Centrals, your Monroevilles, your teams like that. So we've kind of got it down to a science. And I'd say at least a couple months, 3, 4 months ahead. Like during one season, you're kind of thinking about the next season that's coming up. So that's basically how it works.
Cool. Jimmy, you got something for Josh?
No, I was going to ask him about how you go about getting the the sponsors and stuff, because in high school we had to go to the businesses to get stuff for the yearbooks and stuff. So I was thinking that'd probably be about the same lines and stuff. But how do you decide? Okay, this is the game of the week. You got St. Paul Monroeville here at the end of the season, and I went down to watch this game, and I was a little shocked. I heard a couple people talking about the officiating crew, and Joe Lindenberger, who was a Monroeville graduate and was running for city council at the time, is like, he's out on that damn field. And as they're coming off at halftime, Joe sees me and he got a smile on his face, reached out, we shook hands, and I asked him, I said, did you call that pass interference early in the game? He says, no, but I called that holding that St. Paul got that touchdown on.
Yeah, there's a reason we didn't do that.
I looked
at these guys, I'm like, my wife's from Monroeville, I'm from New London, these guys are from St. Paul. Let's bypass as many of the Firelands Conference games as possible. Right. And so we'd go to like Toledo Whitmer instead, that kind of
thing. That way. Yeah. Nobody knows us.
Yeah, nobody knows our name. It's just the opposite of Cheers.
I'm a Firelands Conference guy too. I'm a Plymouth guy. So
when our football crew was doing really well and it moved into some big leagues, I 4-1 season, I said, guys, we're it's great, the level of competition we see every week, but we're all from the North Central Ohio area. Instead of traveling to Canton or somewhere over that way, these schools that we grew up playing with and against, they deserve good officials. And a lot of times good officials lose focus of that and go for as many big time games as they can get. I said, I think we owe it to ourselves to kind of hang local 2 or 3 games a minimum a year. And that was not a hard push to the guys. I think we all kind of got hung up in where we were going as far as competition, but it's nice to do the local games too. The fans sometimes are better than when you travel that far and what all. So in fact, our crew used to do the St. Mary's, St. Paul game at the beginning of the season. And so here I am, the St. Paul guy on the crew, and our referee is Rick Jeffrey from Sandusky, and he went to St. Mary's and a big St. Mary booster, kept scorebook for basketball for years. He was a basketball official for a long time. But John Livengood said, hey, I'll never have a problem with you guys working our games. He said, you guys do the kind of job that we appreciate. So the assigner for that league always knew that, like every other time they played in Norwalk, we were there. And then once in a while when they were in Sandusky, that assigner would put us there. We all knew both coaches well, but not a problem.
Well, John used to like to pull me and Don in on Saturdays if we were doing the JV game to view film of the night before and go, hey, is this right? I don't think this was called right. So Don and I'd sit and watch video with John and try not to throw our brother officials under the bus, but sometimes it's like, wow, that's
new guys.
That's bad.
Old guys miss them too once in a while, but
you gotta understand, Josh. There's one of us that only has one good eye.
I see.
Take the guesswork out.
I don't have my glasses today, so I need those, or I don't know what I'm gonna be calling.
There you go. But so I guess before we wrap up here, I think we'd like to know what do you think your biggest challenges are at the radio, and maybe working for the radio or producing a show, or maybe the crowd around you that's driving you nuts. while you're trying to do the show. Or, I'm sure that never happens.
No, never.
Or one of those kind of things. So
challenges, I would say sometimes it's just getting all the information that you need, because we're talking high school here. You don't have a sports information director or something like that, and that you get in, at least in college, at college level. You have to do all your own prep work. You got to, for example, when you get into the tournaments, a lot of times you see teams for the first time, and you're kind of lost sometimes, and you got to dig into some stats, and you got to search the internet. And I would say the toughest thing is just prepping. But for local teams, it's pretty easy. Like in basketball, a lot of games that I do, I don't even have to look down at the roster. I just know this is Smith, and this is Jones, and this is Williams. Yeah, but when you get into new teams, then that gets a little fun. But I'd say that's the biggest thing, getting all the information that you need so you can provide the best product, for the listener out there.
Well, do you have any funny stories that's ever happened to you? I know when we had Mark and Scott on for our 50th show, well, they had several funny stories that, so anything funny happened to you, on the way or at the game, or?
I'd say the most funniest thing would be just my board ops back at the station. They have a lot of fun with me, and sometimes they'll send me jokes, and I'll be cracking up on the air, and I'll be like, so and so back at the station just told me this, and things like that. But I just have a lot of fun. Like I'm my broadcaster, I try to keep them professional, but
sure.
I try to invoke a lot of humor into the broadcast too, especially when you guys know when a game gets out of hand, you don't know what you're going to talk about. So you try to have a little fun with that.
And that's when it gets tough, trying to figure out all those numbers and those clean uniforms. Who are these kids I haven't seen before? I mean, you want to get their names on air, but it's
quick story. Go. I got a quick one for you. I was doing a St. Paul Tiffin Calvert football game over in Tiffin, and it was early in the season, so we had the sun was shooting right in on us, so already we couldn't see the uniforms that well. And then Tiffin decided to wear like a light blue jersey with like white numbers on it, and you couldn't see them, and I had no idea. So what I did during the broadcast, at least during the first half of the broadcast, was I just looked down at the starting running backs, and I just alternated them. I didn't know what else to do. So I'm like, Smith had the football here. Okay, next play, Jones is going to have the football. Or I would listen to the guys next to me that were calling the game for Tiffin and kind of, copy them. But
yeah, pick it up a couple seconds in delay.
Yes. Yeah. Or one other quick story before I go. I was doing a St. Paul Warren JFK football game in Strongsville, and it was a playoff game. And they had an open shutter, kind of like it is at Norwalk, where everything's open. If you close it, you can't see. Right. And it decided to snow during that game, and it snowed in on us. It was blowing straight in, and it was just piling up on us. And it covered my roster. It melted my roster. I didn't know who the heck had the football for Warren JFK the whole entire night, and I just switched between players, and luckily the game went quick, and I got out of there. But yeah, it snowed on us during that game. We'll never forget that one.
Well, I know Don and I know your pain. That sun glare as a line judge. Holy smoke.
I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. I was so glad when they allowed us to start wearing shades. We called that the Dave Wintery rule, and because Dave always wore shades to the games. And
we went to Wauseon one time, and I'll tell you what, as a back judge, I was staring into it almost the whole first quarter because whoever Wauseon played, when they got the ball, they fumbled or had an interception 2 plays in. And so right away, I'm turned around again, looking right into that sun for almost the entire first quarter. And then by then it started going down enough that that's the worst sun I ever officiated in. And that was right.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times you can't even see half the field. Like you can see like your side, and that sun's right in your face, and it's
Get
like,
that hat
oh
down
my
as
God.
far as you possibly
Yeah.
can. And
No.
You know,
Yeah.
oh, it's bad. And the coach, didn't you see that? I'm like, hell no. Did you see it?
yeah,
Did
it
you
still
see
stars
it?
in my eyes.
There's no way you saw it. So,
Hey,
guys, you got one more question for Josh before we go, Jimmy?
Who's got the best popcorn football season?
Hang on, let's go to Don. Don's got one quick. What you got, Don? I'm sorry.
Yeah, who's got the best popcorn during football season?
I like Norwalk and St. Paul. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm there a lot, so I get a lot of their concessions and food. I'm there probably over half the season, so I'll go with them.
How about basketball season?
Basketball. I would say somewhere in the Firelands. Monroeville has really good food. I enjoy going to Monroeville for. They have pretzels that they bring in, soft pretzels from Sam's Club, and boy, are they good.
Hey, Jim used to enjoy the food that the grandmas bring him over at Monroeville. Yes.
He's got a thing for grandmas.
Snickerdoodle cookies. They bring him, and and he teases. He said, "No fouls on your grandson tonight."
There we go.
Well, that's it, because that was Ken Leber's mom. and I'd go down to the rec center, and Katie's a retired nurse, but once a month she would come down to the rec and take blood pressures. And I came in the one day and she said, "Hey, you got any of my grandson's games?" And I said, "Not at this time," but Monroeville made it in the playoffs, so they had to cancel out the first couple of games, and then they reschedule it. Well, Ben Paul had given me a call and said, "Hey, what do you guys got on such and such a date?" And I said, "We're open." He says, "Can you work?" And I said, "Yeah, put us down." About a week later, I go down, there's Katie, and I said, "Good news, Katie." I said, we got your grandsons." She said, "Well, now you can't call no fouls on them." And I said, "What?" "You can't call no fouls on my grandson." I thought for a second. I said, "Well, I like oatmeal cookies." And she said, "Well, what's that got to do with anything?" I said, "You're asking me a favor. I figured I was entitled to one." So she said, "I'll make you some oatmeal raisins." I said, "You never heard raisins come out of my mouth." I said, "If I get oatmeal raisins, you might as well stay home, because I'll kick them up before the game even starts." So we get there that night. Don's working with me, and Billy Seitz. And I'm standing in the hallway, and all of a sudden this lady comes up and she taps me on the shoulder. She said, "Are you Jim?" And I said, "I am." She hands me this bag. There must have been at least 3 dozen oatmeal cookies in it. So we go into the locker room, we're eating, and I happen to run into one of the fathers from Buckeye Central, and he comes in, we're bullshitting, and all of a sudden he looks down, Don and Bill are going at the cookies down at that, and he, "Let's throw that back down here," and I gave it to the dad, and he said, reached in there, grabbed the oatmeal cookie out. I waited for a second, he took a bite, and I said, "Now that you know that they're pretty good cookie," I says, if you don't hear the whistle when your son gets fouled by number so-and-so or number so-and-so, Grandma made these cookies." And I couldn't tell you if we did. I doubt it. I think we usually called the game the way it was supposed to be. But
usually, well, that's because we have 2 eyes.
Yeah, well.
2 good eyes.
Yeah. And we always have to protect the pirate in the crew.
Yeah. I made the mistake. When I go over to check the book, if the lights ain't bright enough, when I was wearing my contacts, I'd have to squint a little bit. Well, I don't look good. So the next year, when I went to go to the eye doctor, about a month or 2 before the season started, I said to him, I says, "Now," I presented my situation. He said, "Yeah, you get one that sees far away and one up close." And I looked at him, I said, "You're kidding me, right?" And he goes, "No, seriously." He says, "You don't focus on left or right, just look straight out."
Oh, God.
And my big mistake was to tell these 2 clowns about this. And the first game we had, I blew the whistle and I'm going to the table. I don't know which one it was. Which eye did you call it with?
No, we were just being nice to our special.
Well, I have other words for these 2 guys.
Yeah, he had an experiment that ended pretty quickly, didn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well.
Yep.
So, well, thanks again, Josh, for joining us. And hopefully we can have you on later on in the season again, maybe. If you haven't had a chance to read our book, let us know. We can always send you one if you haven't got one.
Sure. I'll take
one. Just message Don your address, and we'll get you one in the mail.
Yeah.
Got one more.
All right, we got one more.
Do you know any officials that you talk to before or after a game?
The only official I really talked to, Ryan Bowers.
Oh, Ryan?
Yeah, he's probably my best buddy in the officiating world.
Is he? Well, I would say because when we would work in the SBC and Mark Fogg would be doing the game, we'd see him. We would always yell up to him, put a good word in for us.
I like that, guys. Yeah.
I'll tell you what Mark Fogg did to me. Dan Major, who is a Hall of Fame buddy, used to coach track forever over at Willard. We were working together, and we were about the same size, same build, and same lack of hair moving back. And so we're over at St. Mary's, and they're playing Huron when Gus Johnson was a big gun over at Huron. And St. Mary's had, one of the, forgot this name, but they both went to play in the MAC. It was a heck of a game, and St. Mary's had the temperature dialed way up in the gym that night. It was a real sweat box. And I got a copy of the game from Rob Polinsky, who was working for the Sandusky cable system then. And doggone if it wasn't during a free throw, he says to his buddy, "Hey, what are these two? When you look down at the court at these two referees, what do you think? What first comes to your mind?" And his buddy didn't know what to say. So I don't know. He goes, "How about Rogaine?" And Rob and I are such good friends. We still have fun over that one. I mean, that was quick thinking. So, anything else, anybody?
No, thanks again, Rob.
I know Josh has got to fly to a game tonight, so we appreciate taking time mid-afternoon here to talk to us before it's time to pack. You probably already packed. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Josh.
Tell Ben Paul that we all said hello.
Yes,
I will. Definitely will. Thanks a lot.
Where are you working tomorrow night?
I am doing St. Paul, New London boys basketball tomorrow night.
I think I'm going to be up there.
Tell both of those coaches. Tommy Howell, I worked with him out at the furniture company for a long time.
Good guy.
Tommy Howell. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Sounds good, guys.
All right. Thanks again, Josh. We'll see you.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Take care.
Have a
good call tonight.
Yep, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So we got one more thing here to go over. Our buddy Steve Gray passed away, and they are doing a benefit for Steve a week from Friday. I think Don's got the particulars. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, that's Friday, February 6th. It's the inaugural Give Back for Gray Memorial Game to honor Steve's legacy. And the proceeds are going to benefit the Coach Gray Scholarship Fund. What is a doubleheader of varsity basketball? The Trucker varsity boys takes on Bellevue, and that game will start at 6. And then after that game, the Lady Truckers varsity team will follow against the Bellevue Lady Red, who is I haven't seen for a while, but they were the number one team in their division in the state about 2 weeks ago. And I did not hear of them losing. So a chance to see a great ball game there. I think the Norwalk ladies are going to be looking to show that they have improved since their only league loss, which I think came to Bellevue. But Norwalk fourth graders will be singing the national anthem, and the many cheer participants will provide halftime entertainment. It sounds like a lot of fun. Get out and support all the kids doing that. There'll be 50-50 raffles, Coach Gray t-shirts, bake sale by donation, and more, with all the proceeds going to that scholarship fund. And if anybody's interested in baking for the bake sale, the person they should contact is Jen Oakley Schwartz. Jen is the assistant varsity coach. I was the JV coach for a number of years. A wonderful lady, and she has spearheaded the lady trucker program for having a give back game, helping people in the community that have had hardships with extenuating circumstances, try to help them out a little bit. So they do it every year. It's a great cause, and this should be a great night of basketball. That's Friday, February 6th.
Week from tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.
See you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
That's all, folks.